So in this, like one of the final live sessions we're gonna have together, I would like to start off by saying that this self-paced online learning is actually one of the 21st century skills that you have to master. And I'm really glad that all of you decided to start working on the skill at this age, because as you grow older, you're gonna find that the jobs of the 21st century require this self-learning, self-development, and e-learning nowadays has become a crucial part of how we learn and how corporations upskill their employees. Probably when you start a new job, this is how you will get your training. So it's now gone the time of when like companies would send their employees abroad for 6 months, like to Germany or to I don't know where, to get this training and courses. Like no one can afford this anymore. It's not very effective in terms of time, in terms of cost, and everything is moving towards e-learning. So embrace it and be proud of yourself. Similar to what Roy said, you should be proud of yourselves if you have come this far to the end of the program. You were able to submit all the deliverables that you were asked for. You successfully completed all the lessons. And again, this is just a start in your self-development, entrepreneurial and community engagement and digital journey, because these are the 3 skills that we are focusing on in Shabab Lab. And we know that these are some of the most demanded skills in the 21st century job market. So when you talk about the future of jobs, you talk about entrepreneurial mindset, entrepreneurial skill set, and you, by creating a project from scratch and saying this is what I want to do to help serve the environment, to help solve a problem I have in my community, make sure that you put this in your CV, make sure you raise some exposure and awareness about this, like post about it on LinkedIn if you have a LinkedIn account, post on it about it on Instagram or any other, like write a blog about it, and we are very happy to share it as well. And we will be sending you an online link on something called Video Ask. This is a very nice platform where we collect testimonials in video format. So I know Roy had something to say. Now also Emma wrote in the chat, I personally felt like I had the best guidance and appreciated how vivid the course was with the terms I've acquired. I've personally felt confident exploring my ideas and pitching, knowing that I'm doing the right procedure. So this is really good to hear. It's always a concern that we have and not like having or not providing enough guidance because it's a self-paced online format. But guys, you need to know that this is the way that we believe we can scale this knowledge and awareness to many, many youth like yourself. So we don't want to just have hundreds of participants. We actually aspire to have hundreds of thousands of participants and hopefully millions in the future. I personally believe, and this is part of my entrepreneurial story, I completely believe that we need to change the way our youth think. We need to make them aware through hands-on projects like the one that you did, that they have a say, that they can make change, that they can use the technology for the social good, and that they can use entrepreneurship to improve their societies and their communities. I believe if we really do a good job in that front, I believe the world will become a better place. So our message as Shabab Lab team, as the mother company Riyada for Social Innovation, is that we want to create more and more change makers, and this is how we make change in the world. So we are changing the world by creating more and more change makers who are you guys. You are the change makers that we are very, very proud of. So this is why we asked you earlier, like if you can connect us also to your schools, to any other schools you are connected with, we will be appreciative, because we want to make this like really spreading to as many youth as possible. So with that, guys, let's talk a little bit more about the end of the program, the pitching part. Wasim has already told me that a lot of you started submitting their pitch decks, which is great. But still, if you believe that you learned something new today and you would like to update your pitch deck, feel free and you're welcome to do so. So I'm going to start off with a question. So why do we do pitching at the end of the program? And by the way, every program in Shabab Lab, which is like what you call the full-fledged program, where there are different modules and it's like there are different skills that you learn, we end it up with a pitch. So why do you think that this is what we do? Like, what's the importance or significance of the pitch? Any guesses? Any? Yes, Emma?
I think that the most important part is centralizing all of the information and showing it to people. Like, I could have the best idea and keep it to myself, but I have to make sure that other people understand what I have in mind and acquire this idea themselves too.
Exactly. So basically, as Emma is saying, I mean, if I have this great idea, I have to make sure that people will buy in this idea. And in case you follow our Shabab Lab account on TikTok, for example, which is, we try to put different videos of course, educational content, but also sometimes entertaining and fun. So sometimes we do Netflix movies or Netflix series reviews, and we always pick the movies or series that have relevance to what we do. And like one example, for example, we reviewed the movie Skater Girl. And in Skater Girl, like Emma, who is like one of the heroines in the movie, she's trying actually to create a skate park for the children in the village. So this is an awesome idea. It's a great idea. But how do you make it happen? Like, you need a lot of money to build an international standard skating park, you know, in a village in India. So she had to actually go and knock doors, and at every single time she had to pitch her idea to the potential supporters. And not everybody accepted, of course. Like, not everybody will be super supportive and super willing to put in some money and give you the publicity that you want, the land, the resources, etc. So it wasn't easy. And we do mention this in one of our review videos. It's like, this is exactly what social entrepreneurship is about. Like, how do you, like, you can't afford to pay for that from your own money, right? It takes, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this community project. And it's very noble and it's really, really high impact. But how do you make it happen? You need people to buy in. You need people to pitch in with their support. And support could be way beyond financial support. I know that, like, usually social entrepreneurs are fixated on, like, we need the funding. Yes, funding is one of it, but it's not everything. For example, like Emma in the movie, she got a donation of land. Like, land is worth money, but it's not money. It's just like an asset, like it's a physical asset. But she needed land to build the park. She got other donations of, like, you know, experts and you know, highly professional services and so on. So it's very important for us to nail the pitch in order to get the buy-in and support of our potential partners, our potential funders, our potential, I don't know, supporters. And of course, in social entrepreneurship, you need a lot of support to make your voice heard and to make your project realistic and to make it real and instead of just making it an idea. So this is why we focus on pitching a lot, and pitching comes in different ways. So what we have trained you on in the platform is to basically do what we call a pitch presentation. Like, you prepare a pitch deck, like you have different slides. Each slide is covering a certain aspect of your idea or project, and you have a limited time to do that. This is really good in competitions, for example. So now, guys, since you have been in the Shabab Lab program and you have a good idea about entrepreneurship, you know how to create a website, you know what is social innovation, you have a good idea of the SDGs and how you can contribute to them. You also have a good idea about the social business model canvas and pitching. You can stay alert, and we will be sending you such opportunities in the future. You can stay alert to any hackathons, to any pitching competitions, to any idea stage competitions or early startup stage competitions and apply and be part of it. And this all is also how you keep enhancing your profile, your skill sets, your exposure, your experience, and your qualifications to get scholarships or to get into really reputable universities, or to get into really good jobs later on. So all of this is part of your journey and your self-development. So if you like follow the steps and the process that we highlighted very well in the videos and the lessons, you can now join any competition. And what we have for you is some kind of a competition as well. So you are sort of competing against each other. The different teams are competing against each other, and we will announce 1 or 2 winners after we screen and evaluate all the pitches. So this is a competition sort of, and this allows you to apply to other competitions. So this is one way to pitch, but there are other ways as well. So another way that we don't emphasize on in Shabab Lab, because again, we are targeting your age group, is what we call the investment pitch. The investment pitch is usually a longer pitch. You have at least 30 minutes for that. Usually you might have more slides, but the same like visual rules still apply. So you have to keep it very simple, no text on the screen and so on. But it will, for example, you will spend more time demoing your product. So in the demo or the like showing what you have, how your product or like your software or hardware, whatever you have works, you spend more time, you show it. Usually the investor pitch, of course, before COVID was always an in-person pitch. So you are in the same room with the investors and you are telling them why they should invest in you. You go in details. This is something we didn't do in the Shabab Lab program, simply because, again, we're targeting a younger age group. You go in details into your financial projections, how much cost you will be incurring, how much revenue you will be making, what does your profit look like in 1 year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. So showing these projections is also very important for investors. They would like to know how much they're going to be making as a return on their investment and so on. This is a more advanced kind of pitching, but you have to be aware of it. Okay, so we call it the investment pitch. And we have the kind of pitches that you will probably have to do a lot of in case you decide that I want to make this project real and not keep it as a nice to have project that I submitted to a summer program on Shabab Lab, is where you start going and seeking. Yes, Wasim says, watch Shark Tank or Dragon's Den to know more about investor pitching. And they are really, really interesting to watch, by the way. I highly recommend that you watch that. So I was talking about potential partnership pitches. So, and again, in COVID times, this will be virtual over Zoom or Google Meet or, whatever method you like. In other times, it could be in-person pitches. So it's simply a meeting, like you book a meeting with a potential partner. You have identified them when you were doing your business model canvas. You realize that this could be a good partner because it will make me reach my customer segment. So it's a good channel for me and I would like to partner with them. So you have to meet them and actually go and talk to them, either online or offline, and tell them more about what you do. And this is more of an informal pitch, but you have to be very well prepared, because many times, like young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs like yourselves, due to lack of experience or lack of public speaking experience or practice, they might end up doing this meeting but not able to really make the message cross to the other side, and the other, like the partner, might not end up knowing exactly what you're asking from them, what their role is, what you're trying to do, what are the goals behind this partnership, what's the win-win. So the win-win is very important. Many times, especially when we are young entrepreneurs, we only think of what we have to win. We forget to think of what do they have to win and why do they want to partner with us. So you always have to, again, exercise empathy and see, okay, why would anyone want to partner with me? And this has to be at the forefront of your presentation or of your pitch. Like I have to convince them what's in it for them. Not, I mean, it's clear what's in it for me, of course, but I have to convince them in what's in it for them, why they should be on board, why they should support me. So, okay, so Emma is saying, I watch this every day. They always talk about taking a percentage of the company. So yes, taking a percentage of the company is actually what we call equity investment. So Emma, this is the like most preferred, I would say, method of investment for startup companies, simply because it's like it's a lower risk for the startup itself. So instead of getting into debt that you are not sure whether you can repay or not, you simply give a stake of your company. So you say, for example, I'm willing to give you 5% of the company if you give me $50,000. And this is where, like, again, a bit more advanced concepts come into play. This percentage is really determined by what we call valuation. So valuation is how much your company is worth, okay? So now, for example, if you guys go and pitch your idea, and again, given that you have not done anything beyond what you did in Shabab Lab, your idea is not worth much, right? Because you still didn't do a lot. So if, for example, you launched the website in real life, you like purchased some hosting, you purchased a domain, then it's worth more than what it's worth right now on your local host. If you have some partners, then it's worth more. If you have some successful pilot projects and you have some real beneficiaries who benefited from your product or project, then your company is worth more. So the more you do, the higher the valuation of your company gets. And then the more you can ask for from investors in terms of money for a lower percentage. So this is what we call valuation. I'm going to write it in the chat in case anybody would like to actually like do more research about this. It's very interesting, Emma, in case you are interested in investment and equity investing, and you want to learn more about all the jargon and the terminology that is used in Shark Tank or Dragon's Den. So yes, this is very interesting. So my point is really we use pitching a lot of times. And one of the most interesting types of pitches, I hope you've heard of this, is what we call the elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch is when you are running into a really like, you know, wealthy person, let's say. Sometimes we call these people angel investors. And you know that they actually invest in startups. So angel investment is actually one of the really good ways for entrepreneurs to get their almost first investment. Sometimes they get some investment before that from family and friends and fools. We call that the 3 Fs, family, friends, and fools. So it could be very, very small amount of investment. So for example, if Roy decides to actually launch the website that he put together, and he said, I'm very proud of it. So you need some money, like maybe, I don't know, $20, $50 to do this, to make it live. Okay, so you need to buy a domain, you need to buy you know, basic hosting for 1 year. So you need like, let's say $50, and you go like, I don't know, to your uncle and say, you know, like, can you spare $50? I'm doing this great project. You go to your, I don't know, grandpa, somebody gives you the $50. This is like, could be your first investment. Your second investment would be probably like, again, you have some traction now, you have done some pilot projects, you have some beneficiaries and so on. You think you can take it to the next level. You need more people to support you, you need some personnel to work with you, you need to develop this website further, but you don't have the time to do it all by yourself because you're also at school and so on. So you need more people to help you, and you need to pay them maybe very little salaries. You also need to invest in a higher package of technology, hosting, and so on. So you go to an angel investor and maybe you ask for your first, I don't know, 5,000, 10,000 or 20,000, whatever it is, dollars. So again, you run into this wealthy person that you know is like interested in investing in startups and have done that before. And you meet them, you know, in an elevator. Like, this is the hypothetical scenario, which happens a lot of times, by the way, in the corporate world, let's say, or in exhibitions or in conferences. Like, you have these 30 seconds to really get the attention of this potential angel investor. Like, what do? You have to pitch your idea in 30 seconds. So this is the challenge. This is what we call the elevator pitch. And of course, I'm going to also write it in the chat. You can also read about it online. Maybe we'll add some modules on Shabab Lab for that sake, or some lessons. But it's very interesting. Like there could be an actual structure. So it depends on what is your strength. Okay, so it really depends on your strength. So for me, when I want to pitch Shabab Lab, I don't start with Shabab Lab. I start with who I am. Why? Because I have been teaching at AUB for 11 years now. AUB is the second best university in the entire Middle East, and it's reputable. Everyone has heard of AUB. I mean, not very few people have heard of Mona Aitani, or like even fewer have heard of Shabab Lab. So I'm not gonna directly start with that. I pick on my point of strength. I tell them I've been teaching at AUB for 11 years, and I witnessed that there was a gap between the educational system and the needs of the 21st century. This is why I launched Shabab Lab, which is the first social innovation e-learning platform that equips the youth in the Arab world to become responsible citizens who can create sustainable technological solutions for real problems in their own community. So like in just a few seconds, I ran them through the basics of Shabab Lab. And if they thought that this is interesting, I mean, of course, there's a very good chance that, oh, very interesting, bravo, Mona, that's it, nothing else. But if they really found this interesting, if they're into edtech, if they resonated with the problem that I just mentioned, if they believe that I'm passionate enough in the way I said it, then they might actually hand me in their business card. And in their business card, there's their email, there's their mobile number. Now I have access to them in order to set up another longer meeting where I will be talking in more depth about, you know, what we're doing, what Shabab Lab offers, how big the market is, about our financial projections, and so on. So I'm just trying to read the chat. Emma is saying, I have a question. It is easy to have a free domain with .j. Okay, does using these terminations decrease the valuation? Yes, eventually, Emma, like you have to own the thing. You have to be paying for the servers, because I believe that investors, I mean, I'm not sure about the .ga, .kl, I haven't done research about them, but if something isn't like super trusted or very reputable, then yes, this will affect the valuation. So having said that, sometimes they will ask you, like, you know, like they can put a condition that you need to make some changes. Okay, so if they believe, and by the way, investors, they don't directly give you the money. So in case they are interested and you convince them during the first pitch meeting, they will do a process we call due diligence. I'll also write this in the chat in case you're interested to learn more about it. So due diligence is when they get into the very, very specific details of your startup and what you're doing. Like, for example, they ask you exactly to show them how you host your website and how much you pay for everything. Like they need everything, who is exactly helping you in the business, who's on full-time, on part-time, how much money you've paid. Like they go into the tiniest details of everything. And based on that, they will decide whether they would like to invest or not. And of course, a lot of like potential investments, they break up before due diligence is over, because they will find like really surprising facts or like big exclamation marks that won't let them invest further. But in case they feel that something needs to be changed and they still get convinced that this is a good deal, they will put it as a condition. So I know from some meetings we've done with like people in the UAE, for example, is that they do have technological requirements if they would like to invest in us. So Shabab Lab currently, what we have as technology isn't good enough for investors in the GCC area. So we have to upgrade our technology. And we are willing to do that, you know, if we get the chance, of course, to work with them. So you have to be very flexible in that. And again, why would you say, no, I want to stay on .kl or .ga? I mean, you don't mind as long as this is serving you, right? So you should be very flexible and open-minded about that. And one of the best like takeaways from such pitching like experiences is what you get out of it. So it's not just whether they agreed to invest in me or not. It's really all the feedback that you get. And believe me, even if you don't end up winning the competition, you don't end up getting the investment, you don't end up getting their interest or their business card in case of the elevator pitch, or you don't end up getting the partnership in case you are pitching for partners and not for money or anything else. Still, you will learn a lot from the experience because you'll get a lot of questions. You will know how to improve your pitch for next time. They will maybe ask you questions you haven't thought of before. They might actually have referrals for you. This has happened with us a lot. Like even if the partnership didn't work out, but they will refer us to other potential partners who might be even a better match. So this is why you should never shy out from having these pitching experiences, putting yourself under the spotlight. I know not that it's not very comfortable, but you have to step out of your comfort zone and you have to really put yourself out there because it will be a super rewarding experience. Okay, great. So I hope I covered like some types of pitching, and this is why pitching is really, really important. And now I want to see if you have any questions about the pitch itself for your, okay, so Emma is asking, can we have more than one investor? So usually, Emma, you like, usually, let's say now you raised investment from an angel investor, you would want to wait a little bit to use the money in the way that you have intended and communicated with the investor. And then after a while, and this time duration should be like studied earlier. Like, for example, sometimes you say, I need, for example, $200,000 for a runway of 18 months. Okay, so you know that this will be enough for 18 months. So maybe in 6 to 9 months time, you will start putting yourself out there again, because again, it needs time to raise investment. So it's not like this. It takes months. So before you like exhaust all the money or expense them all, you will start pitching again and preparing for next round. But you don't raise in like 2 investment rounds, like, you know, subsequently. You don't do that unless, like, the only time you raise investments from different investors is what you call, like, I'm raising a round of investment. Like, I need, for example, $1 million, but I didn't find one investor who's willing to put 1 million. So for example, I can raise 3 amounts from 3 different investors that sum up to 1 million, but this is 1 round of investment. So you know what I mean? So it's like a pool of investors, but it's 1 round of investment. So, and usually between 1 round and another round, there should be time, like at least a year or something like that. So yeah, this is like advanced investment talk, but I'm really glad you're interested in that. So yes, now I wanted to ask you a little bit more. I needed to ask you if you are having any trouble in preparing your pitch, actually, which we have asked you in Shabab Lab. So again, we try to simplify it as much as possible. Again, it is only a 5-minute pitch, so you do have a time constraint. And believe me, and again, many times you will have a time restriction. So this is, again, a skill that you master to get your message across in as little time as possible. I know sometimes it sounds difficult, but believe me, guys, we have done a 1-minute pitch, a 3-minute pitch, and many times an elevator pitch, which is like a 30-second pitch. And you can say in 30 seconds or 1 minute much more than you believe you can. So Nurhan is asking, you don't ask for all your needs at one time and they select how much to have. No, actually, you do ask for all your needs at one time, but again, your needs for a specific duration of time. So let's say I dream to make Shabab Lab an international company. I dream to actually be able to educate millions of youth in the world and equip them with the mindset and skill set that you guys have been equipped with in the Web for Change program. So, but this dream is not a short-term one. This is a long-term dream. So I know right now, like I know exactly where I stand. I know exactly at what phase Shabab Lab is. And I know that what I just said is not going to happen next year or in 2 years or even in 3 years time. It needs at least 10 years. So I'm not going to ask at this point for what I need in 10 years time. I will ask for what I need in 1 year time. Okay, so this is very important. And I'm glad, Nurhan, you asked this question, because we, especially the youth, we tend to always think very long term and forget that in order to reach from here to there are a lot of stepping stones. So it's not like, you know, a one-shot thing, right? I can't directly go from zero to hero. I need to go through different steps. So you need to break it down to baby steps. So I always tell my students, baby steps, and remember me for that. So yes, keep that dream. Yes, keep your eye on the vision, keep the passion, and keep the determination. This is what will keep you going, especially if you identify yourself as a social entrepreneur, because you have this social impact, you have this vision, and I'm going to reach there. Okay, so similar to what you're aspiring for in Shabab Lab, it's like a big dream. Okay, but again, we are very realistic and we know how it works. It doesn't work as like one day nobody knew about us, the second day everybody is using Shabab Lab. No, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work, a lot of marketing. We have to grow the team. Like in order, now we are 10 people and most of us are still on a part-time basis working for the company. So in order to have the company I told you about that I dream of, we need to have at least like, I don't know, 500 people. How can I hire 500 people in no time? It's impossible. You know, it's impossible. And one of the, by the way, one of the reasons for failure of startups is that sometimes, this is one of the reasons, not the only reason or the main reason, but that they sometimes raise too much money and they don't know how to spend the money. So believe it or not, when I heard it first, I was like, what? Seriously? Like, yeah, this is a real thing. Like if you raise more than what you need, now again, because now I need this much to go this much, okay? If I raise more money and I misuse them, I don't know how to use them, I'm gonna fail. Simply like someone who couldn't raise money. So Nurhan, so you don't ask for the amount that will get you financial sustainability. No, you ask for, again, an amount that will get you to the next step or to the next phase where you believe you will be stronger to ask for more money so that you grow more. So this is how entrepreneurship works. Usually we ask for money for the first year or year and a half. This is like a rule of thumb. And the further you are, like the more developed you are, the more money you will ask for. And as I mentioned, and the less equity you will be giving away. So let's give a hypothetical example. Let's say now Shabab Lab is valued at $3 million. Okay, I'm going to throw this number. Let's assume we're valued at $3 million. So now if I'm asking for $300,000, this is 10% of the company, right? So if somebody comes and tell me, Mona, I'm going to give you $300,000 today, then I have to give them 10% of the company. Okay, what if I'm asking for $3 million? How much should I give them? All the company? Okay, so it doesn't make sense. So I can't ask for a huge amount that is equal or bigger than the amount that the company is valued at, because then you are getting yourself out of business as a founder. And this is why usually investors tell you you should raise investment in small chunks so that you don't dilute your shares. So why? Because you guys, the entrepreneur, is the main engine behind the startup. You are the main dynamo, the main, you know, motivation, the main visionary in this project. If you don't own much of it, you won't feel motivated anymore to work hard for this. So investors don't want you to get super diluted in your own company because then the chances of failure will be much, much higher. And the chances of them not getting the return on their investment will be much higher as well. So I hope this is, I mean, I didn't know honestly that we'll get into this in advanced investment talk, but I'm really glad that you are interested in that, guys. So I'm really happy, but I mean, I really hope as well that this is making sense to you. So again, Nurhan, no, donations is completely different. Like donations is equity free. And usually donations, most of the time, like 90 or more % of the time, they are specific for a certain project. So for example, you have to have a very specific scope. It has to have a time duration. It should have a budget. It should have a list of roles and responsibilities. So who are the people who will handle this project? What are the goals? What are the outcomes? And usually you apply to what we call grants. And by the way, we at Riyadh and Shabab Lab also apply for grants. Between 25 to 30% of our revenues are from grants. So this is a possibility, but we do not encourage you to make it your own, you know, your only way to sustain yourself, because it is not sustainable. And the more advanced you get, the less likely like these INGOs and donors will be interested in giving you money. So this is very important for you to keep in mind. This is why we stress on having a sustainable revenue stream. And this is why in your pitch, you have to show us that you have thought of a sustainable revenue stream, or also what we call a business model. So this is how I'm going to make money, and it should make sense. So again, donations are a very different kind of animal. They have nothing to do with investments. But of course, like when you talk about donations, as I mentioned, it is usually time bound, like there's a certain duration, it's a project specific most of the time. Sometimes there's something called a core funding or core grants, which means that this goes to the core like development of your social enterprise or your social business. But these grants are very few, like they are rare. Yeah, like for example, we couldn't raise until today any core grants, core funding grants. We always raised project specific grants. So you have a proposal, a very well written proposal. You have, again, like a scope, like an objective, budget, like personnel, timeline is very, very clear. And they approve on that, and you have to report on it. So you're also responsible to expense the money the way you have promised. And this is one of the, like it's very tricky actually to anticipate ahead of time how you would use the money and to use them in the exact same way. And it depends on the donors. Some donors are very rigid in that. Like I remember we once raised investment, not as Riyadh, but as another community project that I was co-leading. We raised a grant from UNICEF. It was like a big grant, $50,000. And they were like super rigid with how you could use the money. So it was always like problematic whenever we had like unforeseen expenses or any changes. It was also always very difficult because you had to get back to them, make sure they approve and so on. So this is why it's also not a great idea to only rely on donations, because you are like sort of at the mercy of the donor. And you don't want to do that. You want to have your autonomy, you want to have some freedom, you want to work on the projects that you believe are important and not, you know, based on the agenda of the donor. And this is again one of the issues with donations, is that they have their own agenda and they have their own priority areas, which might not exactly fit with what you're doing. So I think we have talked a little bit about this earlier. So this is why we don't recommend that you only focus on donations, but you also have other more sustainable revenue streams. So I hope this helps, Nurhan. Awesome. So back to pitching. Again, in pitching, guys, it's really important that you pretend, and I know you're doing this in front of a screen. And anyway, even if COVID wasn't here, this is going to be the case in e-learning. So this is like we're leveraging on technology to make this happen. But still, you have to pretend as much as possible that you are talking to real people. You have to be charismatic, you have to show passion, you have to use body language, hand gestures, but also don't overdo them. So by the way, my husband always mocks me for watching my sessions after the recording is over, and like when I upload them to YouTube, many times he catches me watching the recording and he would be, oh, like, you love watching yourself. It's not about that, honestly. It's really about seeing how I can improve. It's about seeing yeah, okay. So I don't feel guilty because I don't do that out of like I love to watch myself. On the contrary, I do that because I want to see what went well, what didn't go so well, where I did the right thing, and what ways I can improve. Was I looking at the camera, or was I looking somewhere else on the screen? Was I rushing, or was I, you know, what was my pace like good enough and moderate, not too slow, not too fast? So I always like to watch at least part of the session. I sometimes don't have the time to watch the entire session, especially if it's long, but I at least watch part of it to make sure, like, is this good quality? Like, am I, you know, am I proud of it? Is this good enough for me? If not, then it's not the end of the world, but at least I know what to do for next time. And this is what I encourage you all to do. Record yourself when you are pitching and watch yourself. So it's very important that in pitches, you really rehearse a lot. You record yourself many times and you watch it and you keep improving on that. It is unlikely that you'll get it right from the first time. Personally, I did a really horrible job the very first time I pitched, although I had been teaching for over 7 years back then. So I was comfortable with standing in front of audience of 500 people in an auditorium in a hall and talk to people, but I never pitched, like I never did an actual pitch. And when I had to, I completely freaked out. I didn't do well at all. I tell you that for real. And I learned that it's a completely different experience. So public speaking and pitching are not necessarily the same. I believe pitching is much more stressful, especially that you are pitching your baby, you're pitching your project that you are very passionate about and you have big dreams for it. And again, there's like a lot out there. Like if I am lecturing a class of 200 people and somebody fell asleep, I honestly won't feel offended. I'd say like they didn't sleep last night, or that, I don't know, this is not their thing. But if I didn't do well in my pitch, I have a lot to lose. Like, you know, like everything I dream of is at stake, and I might get these connections, the investments, the partnerships that I'm looking for. So this is why this is much more stressful than just a normal like engagement or a normal public speech. So Roy is saying, whenever I watch myself after doing something tough, I will be like, damn, that's good. Okay, great, Roy. So you're a natural talent. Yeah, amazing. So it's very important to rehearse, practice a lot, practice in front of the mirror, practice in front of your phone, watch yourself. Again, like this, although it's again via a screen, it should feel human. And this is the right word. Like it should feel human. Like I have a human in front of me telling me about something they really care about, something that they have worked hard to make it happen. And I'm gonna learn from them how they aspire to make this, again, real, to make it sustainable, to make it impactful. So you have to get this message across. Don't shy away from using emotions, because again, you're working on social impact projects. It's always good to start with a moving story, a touching story, but validate and make sure it's not too cheesy, not too cliche, not too overused. Yani دايما we have to find a balance in everything we do. Again, be you, show the passion inside of you. And I know, I mean, I'm not always as passionate as today, right? We're human beings. Sometimes I'm simply not in the mood. So choose the time when you're in the mood to do the pitch and to record yourself and to practice and to finally like do the final recording that you're gonna submit on the platform. Make sure it's that day when you are in the mood, when you feel the hype, you feel you know, the excitement, you feel the motivation, because it has to show in your pitch. Okay, so it's really, really important. So Roy is saying, I started to practice my public speaking by reading in front of a mirror. Yes, definitely. This is a good tip for everyone. And nowadays, guys, I know with like all the apps you have, all the technology, sometimes we have these virtual reality also apps where you can practice your public speaking. So I know of some virtual reality apps where you stand in front of a virtual audience. Of course, it's not real. And you start doing the pitch or the speech or whatever it is. So there are many ways to enhance our public speaking skills, to enhance our pitching skills. And definitely Shabab Lab is one of the ways that you are doing that. So I salute you again. And I believe that, again, practice makes perfect. And it's very important that you master your transitions. So when it comes to the pitch deck, it's very important that the transitions between one slide and the other are very smooth, and that the entire pitch sounds like a story. So again, regardless if you start with an actual story or not, the entire pitch should be like a story. So you're like, it should all make sense. At the end of it, oh, like the people, the reaction of the people who heard this should be like, oh, wow, now I get it. Like, oh, they seem to be really passionate about this. This is such an interesting thing they're working on. So this is the reaction you want. I mean, and usually the worst reaction ever, and we get it a lot, by the way, with our university students, is that by the end of the pitch, it's like, you know, one of the jury members would be like, can you like just repeat like and tell me what you're trying to do? This is the worst thing ever, because you have been speaking for 5 minutes and they didn't get a thing. So this is where you really have to do this in front of some people who have no idea about the project. They have zero clue of what you're trying to do and the context of this, and see if it makes sense. Like, and again, one good tip, really good tip, is don't just ask them at the end of it, was it good? Because it's really easy to say, yes, it was great. But you should tell them, like, can you tell me what I'm trying to do? Like, can you like just summarize in a few words what our project is about, and see what they actually understood. See if they actually could get the you know, the gist out of it or not. This is a great way actually to make sure that the meaning has gotten through and the message has crossed to the other side. So Nurhan is saying, I pitched once in front of people. I did better than the rehearsals, but I would never watch the video. You should watch the video. I know, I do understand your fear and I relate, but you have to, and I tell you why you did better than the rehearsals, Nurhan. And this is something I learned when I went to a social entrepreneurship program in Sweden back in 2017. So it was exactly the time when I was launching my social startup. And as I mentioned, I completely realized that I'm so bad at pitching. Like, it was a big surprise to me. And I was like, why? Like, why am I so bad at pitching? I know I'm a good public speaker, but like, why am I so bad at pitching? And then we had this day where they took us to like, it was either a dancing studio or a theater, I'm not sure. And we had the best pitching coach in the world, really. She was Swedish. And she worked a lot on like how our brain and body like work together. And for example, she told us that all the adrenaline that you feel when you're at, you know, standing on stage is actually something that you can leverage on. Like, this is positive energy. Although like we sometimes say, like, relax, no, let the adrenaline go away. No, I don't want to feel this way. I'm so stressed. Like, she told us you have to build on this adrenaline in order to, again, show the best passion out there, show how excited you are about this, be your best self. And probably, I'm just guessing, this is what happened with you. Because you were stressed and there's this adrenaline, then you probably did better than how you were doing in the rehearsals. And this usually is like common. It's very common, actually. And it's something to build upon. And honestly, once I learned about this and like that adrenaline is a good thing that I should cherish and not be like afraid of, I started getting better at pitching. So at the end of that program, I got better than when I did my first pitch. And now I'm much better because I know that if my heart is beating, this is a good thing. It's a sign that I care it's a sign that this is something I'm, again, passionate about, I'm emotional about, and I'm going to give it my all to make it happen. So this is always good, to feel some stress and like make sure you leverage on it and don't shy away from it. Another good tip, by the way, she gave us is like the power pause. So I don't know if you can see me. It's like, just try it now. I know I can't see you guys, but try it. If you just raise your hands up, and this is what we call the power pause, and just like stick in that position for a few, moments, you're gonna suddenly feel you're much more relaxed, and you can't but feel a smile being, shown on your face. So try it and tell me if it works with you. So this is called the power pause. You can also use it prior to the pitch, because again, our mind and body, they work together. So when I'm in the power pause, my body is telling my brain that I got this. My body is telling my brain that I'm in control and that I know exactly what I'm doing. Like on the contrary, if I do this pause, which is like a negative signal to my brain, I won't feel good about it. And also try doing it for a while, so you don't feel happy about it. So because your body gives signals to your brain, and you can fool your brain. Again, even if you're super tense, super scared, and you do the power pause, it will help you be better. So do you advise memorizing the script? Definitely. Definitely. You have to memorize it, but again, don't be afraid of forgetting some words. You don't have to say it as is, right? So now I actually have a live pitch, an in-person pitch, physical pitch on Tuesday, guys. And honestly, I'm super nervous about memorizing the script. But what I have done earlier in 2018, actually, I won one of the pitch competitions in Dubai, and it was a great experience. I didn't say the script exactly as it is, but at least the first half was exactly right. And then the other half was like almost what I wanted to say, but like, of course, it's like the same meaning, but maybe some words have changed. And I can't tell you how nervous I was, but I did great. And I won second place in that pitch competition because I aced the first half. I aced it so well because I have practiced so much. And I did really well. And one tip, by the way, it's very important to mention it today. I learned who the judges were in the morning. So I went to the conference in the morning and I looked at the schedule of pitching and I learned who the judges were. And I had already met two of them. So they were three, if I'm not mistaken, and I knew two of them. And I have talked to them the earlier day. And I was like, I know exactly what they want to hear. So based on our conversation with them, so one of them, all he was talking about was the fourth industrial revolution. So I had to plug this in the pitch, although it wasn't part of my original script. So I knew I had to talk about the fourth industrial revolution, and that if I did, it's gonna be like, aha, she is the one. So I did that. And the other one, I forgot what exactly I did, but I also did a small or a minor change. And that was a challenge. I had rehearsed all night, on a certain script. And in the morning, I learned who my judges were. And I knew that I had to change some things in the script. And I had to change the script and go over, I was touring the conference hall and talking to myself, rehearsing the new script, which was super stressful, honestly. But this is why I won the second prize, because I knew that the enhanced script would resonate better with the judges. So this is not cheating, by the way. This is the right way to do it. You have to know your audience. You have to know, if of course it's possible, you have to know, let's say you're going to a certain partner to pitch, you should have done your research about them, done your homework, know exactly what they do, their previous partnerships, what is their win-win definition, what would they like to get out of it. And you have to talk their lingo. You have to exactly put your, بالعربي we say تحط الإصبع على الجرح, يعني you have to target exactly their pain points and what would make them partner with you or be part of what you're asking them to do. So this is exactly what we do all the time. So if you have the chance of doing homework or research about the people who are going to be in the room, you have to do that. It's not like optional or a plus, it's mandatory in that case. Why the first pitch is so hard? Everything for, the very first time is so hard, Noor. And this is life. So what I really like about Shabab Lab programs is that they give you a flavor of real life, because again, unfortunately, the education system fails sometimes in getting us the real flavor of life, the hardships of life. But this is life, it's not easy. So this is why the first pitch is so hard. I once pitched in front of my class, but the LCD light entered my eyes. So then I turned around and hit the wall. I'm sorry, Ali, for that. But yeah, what you can do then, like you simply can move away. Like this is why it's good to get in, like to be comfortable with the surrounding. If you're doing a physical pitch, like you have to know the stage. And I agree, the LCD lights goes into the eyes many times, so you have to go forward or like go to the side. So this is why it's important to get acquainted with the area, if possible, again, ahead of time, so that you know exactly what to do and to avoid these like somehow embarrassing situations. But it's fine, like, yeah, it's something that will make you laugh now. Pitching at schools is actually very different, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. So I don't know if you've actually done a real pitch at school, but many times we simply do PowerPoint presentations, and they are really different from a pitch, and I want you to know that. Usually, school students, they simply, many times, unfortunately, simply read from the slide. This is extremely like forbidden in an actual pitch, okay? So it's like a big no, okay? This is one. Another thing, usually the transitions are really boring and dull, and they always just like read the title of the slide and like, this is not the transition, guys. So now, if I was talking about the problem and now I'm going to talk about the solution, I don't say problem this and then solution that. I don't say that. I have to say it in a smooth way, in a coherent way that again sounds like a story. So don't read the title on the slide. Everybody can see the title on the slide, and it's usually in a big font size. So like, I don't think this will be an issue for anybody to know that now you're talking about your key metrics, or now you're talking about your business model. But what's more important is to have this smooth transition that I was talking about. And I know it's tricky, but once you write your script, you have to ace these transitions. And again, it should be very smooth, very, like, should really flow nicely. Great, Ali. Bravo. You never read from the slides. So it should be very smooth. It should be flowing very smoothly. And you have to practice the click as well, the click from like switching from one slide to the other. And honestly, some of the best pitches I have seen in my life is when the entrepreneur was pitching and on stage, the screen was as big as the Eiffel Tower behind me. So that's a big wall, by the way. So it was big, or even much bigger. And they were doing the transition on the slides without looking at them. And they didn't have a laptop in front of them. And I was like, what? How are they doing that? They're not even looking behind them. Like, they have practiced the transitions so much that they have perfected them. It's like so seamless. Like, it's like Steve Jobs, you know, on the stage. Like, it's so, it feels so good actually to just watch it. So Roy is saying, before 2020, I used to do the normal presentation, but now I took some workshops, and especially with Turid. Oh, nice. And Shabab Lab, and now I just hit a new level. This is what we want to hear. Emma, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question that has been like going on when you were saying that maybe we had memorized the pitching script. So like every time I don't know if this is the case in business, but there are two options. Either we're like kind of giving the pitch as it is, or we're like going through the storytelling procedure, maybe having some cuts somewhere, or just like being genuine with it. So what do you prefer as, you know, a businesswoman? Do you prefer someone who's maybe giving it to you right away, or someone who talks, you know, about the personal experience, maybe having some doubts somewhere, just like to feel as genuine as possible?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yes, my answer is the second one, and I'll tell you why. Not because I don't want the straightforward message. No, everybody wants to know exactly what you're doing without left foot awaran, as you say in Arabic. But the thing is, Emma, we are all human beings. And usually let's say if I'm a potential investor, I'm not gonna just listen to one pitch. I'm gonna have a lot of different pitches in one session. And what will make you stand out is the human element behind this. So we all have great business ideas. We all are very practical, straight to the point. But what makes you different? Why would I invest in you and not in someone else? You have to convince me, as I mentioned earlier, that you are the right entrepreneur for this, that you have the right passion for this, that you have the right determination for this. How can I know about this in a very short time unless you make it a little bit personal? Not very personal, of course, and don't take it to another direction and don't talk to me about the business model. No, I want to learn about the business model and not to learn about the story of your life. But if you could balance this out and tell me just a little bit about your personal life, that would get me interested in what you're doing and make me say, oh, now I know why she's doing this. And oh, I think she is the right person to do this. And she seems to be like super passionate about this. I want to really support her. This is much better than just telling me what you're trying to do in a very business dry way. You know what I mean? So you always have to have this human element. And again, this is why I said earlier, I think human is the right word, because as humans, we are a mix of emotions and feelings and beliefs and memories and history and ambitions and dreams and, you know, and like talent and cleverness, and like so many things. We're not one thing. This is what's special about humans, and you have to make it as human as possible. This is why a lot of investors, they tell you, yes, start with a personal story. Tell me why you started this thing. Tell me what's in it for you. They want to know you're the right person for this. And again, this is part of the unfair advantage. If we go back to the lean canvas, like again, Shabab Lab is not something that's very difficult to copy. But why wouldn't anyone be able to just easily copy it and make it better than what it is? It's because of the people behind it, about the story behind it, about all the talent behind it, about how the story emerged and how it started and how it changed and how it developed. Okay, so it's the unfair advantage lies in the people, lies in the team behind the project. And again, the team is like a group of human beings who all come with different experiences and different stories to tell. So it's very, very important to touch upon this human aspect, especially in social impact startups, because again, you can't convince me that you're going to make the best return on investment as an investor, because the social impact usually takes longer to reap off in terms of profits and things like that. So again, what should I be investing in other than like the return on investment? I'm going to invest in the people who will be able to make the impact. I want to make sure that you are capable of reaching the goal. You are able to make the impact that you want in the world. So because a lot of investors know that they might not get any return, but they want to know that their money went in the right place, at least, especially impact investors. And this is a special type of investors that invest in impact startups or social entrepreneurship. Okay, so we're running out of time, guys. I hope this was beneficial. I hope it was motivating. I'm gonna watch part of it and see if I did a good job, but I really like the interaction. We had a lot of interaction on the chat, and this is very positive. Again, if you would like to change anything in your pitch, feel free to do so. Just make sure you inform Wasim about that. And we look forward to receiving all your pitch decks very, very soon. Because again, we are wrapping up the program, and last call for the TikTok and the Insta Reel challenge. You have a really good chance, guys, to win $50, and we have 2 winners. Okay, so $100 in total. It was a great opportunity, Sirine says, to get to know such inspiring and passionate instructor. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to work with you guys. Honestly, you are what gets me going, in spite of everything that's going on in Lebanon. Working with the youth, working with passionate, talented people like yourselves is what gets me going and what tells me I'm never going to give up on this thing, because I can directly see the impact, and this means the world to me, honestly. Like, this is the purpose of my life. I want to spread awareness and knowledge and empowerment to your generation to make sure we have a better world. And I believe this is our only chance in really getting a better world. So thank you for being you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being part of the Shabab Lab journey. And again, this is just the start, guys. We have a lot more to offer, and we encourage you to keep improving and self-developing yourself. Okay, so Roy says, Emma, thank you so much. Arab countries need programs like Shabab Lab to grow. Yes, and we are trying to penetrate as many Arab countries as we can. And if you have any connections to help us grow, we would be very grateful. Roy says, this summer I did a small to-do list for how I can improve myself. I can see you've done a really good job, Roy. But with Shabab Lab, I guess this is the best summer I've spent. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Again, if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to Wasim. If you have any questions for me, you already have my number on WhatsApp. Feel free to reach out, or also Wasim can relay the message if he feels or believes that I need to answer. Thank you, guys, and we will be sending you a video ask link where you can record your testimonial on video. Again, think of it as part of public speaking and improving your public speaking skills. So we would like to get as many testimonials as possible. Yes, Ali, you have your hand raised.
I just want to say that it was such a great experience to join Shabab Lab. I studied before like in Coursera, but Shabab Lab is more like a different experience, and such a pleasure.
Thank you for that. It means a lot to us, Ali. And yes, we believe that what we're trying to do is localizing content in a way that resonates better with the age group, which is like high school students, and in the context of the Arab world. So this is how we feel that Shabab Lab is different and has a competitive edge over other e-learning platforms. And again, your testimonials mean a lot to us, and they are a proof to us that what we're doing is in the right direction, and that we have to keep going. And we promise you many more programs in the near future. This is why we only said like have finished grade 10 or 11, because we have upcoming programs for grades 11 and grade 12, and hopefully in the near future for university students as well. So thank you all. I love you all. It's such a great, I mean, I don't want to feel that this is the last session. I hope it won't be the last session. Maybe we're going to have one more celebration session or something like that where we announce the winners. Thank you so much again for everything. And I wish you the best of luck in your on what's remaining of your Shabab Lab program journey. And don't forget to reach out in case you need anything. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.